In this lecture, we're going to start thinking about some theories under the topics of biology and benefits, and you're going to see kind of what exactly that amounts to as we go through. So we're going to start by talking about some biological differences between men and women, some evidence for those claims. Then we're going to think about an argument from safety that was used by the FA. And then finally, we're going to think about Jane English's argument about benefits and introduce her distinction between basic and scarce benefits. So the first thing to think about then is going to be some background information that's going to be motivating a lot of the arguments that we're going to see. And this is going to be about the biological differences between men and women. So when we look at the evidence that's out there, it seems like pretty clear that there is a lot of evidence suggesting that there are key biological differences between men and women, which affect their athletic performance. So I've just listed a few here. So there's going to be differences in average height, average weight, average body fat percentage, average muscle mass, average aerobic capacity, and then one that's particularly relevant to some kinds of sports is that kind of what's labeled explosive power. So it's thought that men have a greater average height, greater average weight. Women have a higher percentage of body fat naturally. Men have greater ability to put on massive muscle mass, greater aerobic capacity, and greater explosive power on average. So again, as we mentioned in the first lecture, it's important to notice that these are all claims about averages. And so it's going to be interesting to think about how we should accommodate men and women that maybe don't fall within the kind of average, because it seems like as much as these biological differences are the case, there are going to be lots of women who are taller than lots of men, and so it's not the case that all men have differences that are greater than all women in all of these categories, and that's going to be something that's worth keeping in mind. Another thing that's worth keeping in mind is that these are key differences between men and women, and we noted in the first lecture that it's going to be worth taking into account whether we're talking about men and women here, talking about boys and girls. And so it might be the case that lots of these differences aren't actually manifest in children. They might only be manifest after puberty, for example. So it's going to be worth taking into account what the differences are going to be like if you choose to interpret the essay as talking about children, as well as or instead of talking about men and women. So I would encourage you to go and do some of your own research too. There's a lot of papers out there, a lot of analysis that goes through various different studies, looking at different kind of factors. These are ones that come up commonly, but you might be able to find some better statistics if you look and do some research. So a quote that I found here, which was looking at a meta-analysis of performance between sportsmen and sportswomen, is looking at the gap in achievement in various measurable sports.